Hey, this is Tony from the Cold Case Project, where we focus on unsolved cases across the United States. Our mission is to bring attention to these unresolved mysteries that need your help. All the information we cover in these cases is readily available on the internet, but we rewrite and repurpose it for the purpose of these videos. Our goal is to spread the word about the thousands of unsolved cold cases still out there. Thank you for watching. If you want to help shed light on these cases, make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Your support can make a difference.
Lindsey Hawker was born on December 30th, 1984, in Coventry, England, to her parents Bill and Julia Hawker. Raised in the nearby town of Brandon, Warwickshire, Lindsey was an intelligent and charming young woman with a strong academic record. She excelled in her studies, achieving impressive GCSE results before pursuing A-levels in biology, history, and computing at King Henry VIII School in Coventry. She later graduated with an honors degree in biology from the University of Leeds in 2006, where she was a popular and well-regarded student. After graduating, Lindsey decided to defer her plans for a master's degree and instead spent a year abroad. She was drawn to Japan, a country she believed to be one of the safest in the world, second only to New Zealand. Lindsey had a deep appreciation for Japanese culture and its unique social customs, which played a role in her decision. As a testament to her warm and generous nature, she brought with her 100 lavender bags, small gift from her father, to share with the people she met in Japan. Upon arriving in Japan, Lindsey initially lived in what she described as an unfriendly neighborhood, where she occasionally encountered derogatory comments for being a foreigner. However, she later relocated to a more welcoming area where she felt at ease. Her family visited her for her 22nd birthday and saw how happy she was. Still, her father, Bill, remained anxious about her safety and urged her to be vigilant. In October 2006, Lindsey bid farewell to her family and boyfriend, Ryan Garside, before traveling to Japan to begin her role as an English teacher with Nova, a major private English conversation school. Nova was one of Japan's largest and most well-known English language institutions, employing native English speakers and bilingual instructors to provide lessons across the country. Lindsey remained in close contact with her family through emails, Skype, and phone calls. She shared an apartment with 2 other female teachers, creating a supportive living environment. On Tuesday, March 20th, 2007, as Lindsey was leaving the train station after work, a young man who had been sitting across from her approached her. He remarked, "You're my English teacher." Surprised, Lindsey replied, "I'm not." When he pressed, "But you're an English teacher," she confirmed. Later, Lindsey emailed her boyfriend Ryan, describing how the man had followed her as she cycled home and later showed up at her apartment asking for water. Feeling cautious but not threatened, she let him in briefly to show that she lived with others. The man drew a quick picture of her, which her father later noted would have impressed her, and signed it with his contact details. Though Lindsey found the situation odd, she did not perceive any immediate danger. In her final Facebook message to Ryan, she reassured him, saying, "Love you lots. Don't worry about the guy who chased me home. It's just crazy Japan. Miss you." Despite her reservations, Lindsey agreed to meet the man for an English lesson at a cafe on Saturday, March 24th. She followed Nova's guidelines, ensuring the lesson was held in a public place and informing someone of her whereabouts. At 2:30 p.m. on Monday, March 26th, a Nova employee reported Lindsey missing after she failed to show up for work for 2 days. Her friends had already tried to report her disappearance, but the message was not properly relayed between police stations. Investigators searched her apartment and found a sign drawing with the contact details of Tatsuya Ichihashi. By 5:40 p.m., police officers were dispatched to Ichihashi's apartment in Ichikawa City, Chiba Prefecture, just a short distance from Lindsey's home. Upon learning that Ichihashi had a past allegation of theft and assault, authorities feared Lindsey might have been the victim of a crime. When officers arrived at Ichihashi's apartment, they noticed movement inside, but they had no legal grounds to enter. They questioned neighbors, who reported hearing strange noises but had not seen a woman. From a neighboring balcony, officers could see a bathtub on Ichihashi's balcony but noticed nothing unusual. At 9:45 p.m., as police stood outside the apartment, Ichihashi suddenly emerged, barefoot and carrying a rucksack. As he started unlocking the door, he abruptly turned, shoved past the officers, and fled. Though officers attempted to pursue him, he managed to escape into the dense network of apartment buildings. Inside his apartment, police made a horrifying discovery. Lindsey's body was found in the bathtub on the balcony, buried under a mixture of compost and sand. She had been bound and gagged with plastic ties and scarves. Her autopsy revealed she had died from strangulation, with her neck cartilage broken. Post-mortem examinations showed that Ichihashi had shaved her head and sprayed her body with a substance to accelerate decomposition. A nationwide manhunt was launched for Ichihashi. In 2008, police investigated sightings of him in Tokyo's Kabukicho district, known for its nightlife. By early 2009, speculation arose that he had fled to the Philippines. Authorities increased the reward for his capture from 1 million yen to 10 million yen. In November 2009, it was revealed that Ichihashi had undergone extensive plastic surgery to alter his appearance. He had removed moles, reshaped his nose, and modified his lips. On November 10, 2009, after nearly 3 years on the run, Ichihashi was finally arrested in Osaka while attempting to board a ferry to Okinawa. During interrogation, he initially refused to speak, but later admitted to being involved in Lindsey's death. He claimed he had not intended to kill her and had attempted resuscitation. However, in court, he confessed to strangling Lindsey to silence her screams while he sexually assaulted her. On July 21, 2011, the Chiba District Court sentenced Ichihashi to life imprisonment. Although Lindsey's family had sought the death penalty, the court ruled that Ichihashi's lack of prior convictions and potential for rehabilitation justified a life sentence. Lindsey Hawker was laid to rest on April 26, 2007. Her family has since campaigned for better safety measures for foreign teachers in Japan and has continued to honor her memory. Nestled on the central California coast, Morro Bay embodies the essence of a classic seaside village. Its picturesque harbor, dominated by the iconic Morro Rock, sets the scene for a serene escape. Quaint streets dotted with shops and eateries offer a charming ambience, while pristine beaches and abundant wildlife provide endless opportunities for exploration and relaxation. Whether enjoying fresh seafood, strolling along the waterfront, or simply soaking in the coastal beauty, Morro Bay captivates visitors with its timeless allure. However, beneath its picturesque facade lies a hidden tale of murder and disappearance. Hugh Harland, a native of Morro Bay, led a unique and independent life as a self-employed fisherman. He chose his work hours and often assisted neighbors out of personal fulfillment, expecting nothing in return. Despite being perceived as atypical and quirky by the community, he fostered positive relationships, and his idiosyncrasies were generally accepted as part of his self-directed lifestyle. While Hugh appeared to navigate well within Morro Bay's coastal community, his personal life harbored some difficulties. Hugh was married to Diane Lenore Eakes Harland, a 43-year-old woman known locally as the Dog Lady, due to her deep affection for her canine companions over human interactions. Their marriage was marked by turmoil. Diane's reputation for squandering Hugh's modest earnings and deliberately provoking him was widespread gossip across the coastal town. She frequently spent his money on her dogs, her friends, and even herself, occasionally going as far as serving her husband dog food for dinner, with rumors suggesting she even incorporated it into casseroles. On October 13, 1982, a grim discovery shook the tranquility of Morro Bay. The badly decomposed body of a woman was found just off the beach. A cross-country meet at the high school nearby was underway when the coach's wife discovered the remains concealed beneath a cluster of trees while walking along the shore. Nearby lay a jade bracelet and a silver bracelet, ominous clues to the tragedy that had unfolded. The woman had been strangled with a nylon dog leash and had been dead for approximately 10 days before her discovery. Initially unidentified, a public description of the deceased was circulated in the vicinity, though authorities released limited information to avoid compromising their investigation. Coincidentally, Diane Harland had last been seen walking her 2 dogs on October 2nd, where witnesses allegedly observed her dogs running away from the area where the body was later discovered. The owner of the ranch where the Harlands resided found it unusual that Diane's dogs returned home at 11 p.m. that night without her. When the owner raised concerns to Hugh, he brushed them off, claiming he wasn't worried. It was a friend who urged Hugh to approach the authorities, suspecting the unidentified woman found on the beach could be Diane. Meeting with investigators, Hugh confirmed both jade and silver bracelets as belonging to his wife, claiming she had been absent from home for approximately 12 days. He admitted that he hadn't been concerned about her whereabouts until news of the body surfaced. While Hugh's identification of the bracelets pointed toward Diane's fate, investigators scrutinized him as a suspect given their tumultuous relationship and his failure to report her missing. Hugh defended himself, asserting that Diane had a pattern of leaving for days on end without communicating with him. When questioned about the last time he saw Diane, Hugh initially stated that her dogs returned home that night with their leashes on. However, upon learning that Diane had been strangled with a dog leash, he abruptly changed his story, claiming that the dogs had returned without their leashes. This sudden revision raised suspicions among investigators, prompting Hugh to request legal representation and cease further questioning. Hugh later contended that Diane's death was not a homicide, but rather the result of a past aneurysm for which she had sought treatment. Despite police considering him a suspect, he was never charged in connection with her murder. Investigators expressed doubt regarding his involvement, but believe he withheld crucial information, possibly out of fear. 4 years later, on November 1st, 1986, Hugh visited a friend's house to borrow tools for a construction job in San Simeon, located 27 miles away. He arrived around 9 a.m. and departed San Simeon at approximately 1:30 p.m. in his 1967 Chevrolet utility bed pickup truck. He subsequently vanished without a trace, leaving behind unanswered questions surrounding Diane's death and his own mysterious disappearance. A few days after Hugh's disappearance, his friends stumbled upon his abandoned pickup truck facing north at the edge of Highway 1 near Cambria. Its contents offered puzzling clues. The truck's hood was up, all of the doors were locked, and Hugh's lunch was notably still inside. Other personal belongings, including his glasses, backpack, sleeping bag, and tobacco tins, were left behind in the vehicle, with the keys discovered on the ground nearby. Further investigation revealed that a fuel line had strangely been removed from the truck. The circumstances surrounding Hugh's vanishing sparked various theories among acquaintances and Morro Bay locals. Some speculated that he fled out of guilt regarding Diane's murder, while others believed he may have left for unrelated reasons, possibly to find a nearby garage to help with his truck's mechanical issues. Conversely, there were those who suspected foul play, suggesting that Hugh may have been harmed by Diane's killer. The decision to abandon his truck on the roadside baffles many, casting doubt on the notion of a voluntary departure. Hugh was a survivalist, and many speculated he had gone off on his own again, which was not unusual for him. However, he normally told someone when he intended to return. The disappearance of Hugh Harland remains veiled in uncertainty, casting a shadow of speculation and unresolved inquiries. According to the Morro Bay Police Department, Hugh was surrounded by both allies and adversaries, suggesting a complex social landscape. Investigators harbor suspicions that Hugh may have been the victim of foul play. Yet, despite this belief, an extensive 4-day search of the vicinity where his truck was discovered yielded no evidence to support such claims. Authorities consider the possibility that Hugh orchestrated his own disappearance, driven by concealed knowledge of Diane's murder. However, if he had planned to disappear, why wait 4 years to do so? Conversely, his friends leaned toward the belief of foul play, proposing Hugh may have become a victim of the same individual who harmed Diane. Despite divergent perspectives, Hugh's case remains an unresolved mystery, leaving loved ones and investigators grappling with unanswered questions and the lingering absence of closure. Hugh Harland was 51 years old when he vanished in 1986. He is described as Caucasian, standing at 5 feet 8 inches and weighing approximately 140 pounds. He had gray hair and brown eyes, commonly had a beard, and was notably missing his left thumb and forefinger. If alive today, he would be 88 years old. Unfortunately, nobody has ever been charged in connection to Diane's murder, and similarly to her husband, her case also tragically remains unsolved. Lydia Perkins was born on December 21, 1982, alongside her twin sister, 6 weeks earlier than their parents had anticipated. Tragically, her sister passed away shortly after birth, leaving Lydia to grow up without ever knowing the unique and cherished bond that twins often share. She was raised in Lexington, Fayette County, Kentucky, alongside her mother and younger brother, Justin. Lexington, known as the horse capital of the world, is renowned for its thoroughbred horse farms and rich equestrian culture. The city also boasts a vibrant downtown, historical landmarks, and a thriving arts and food scene. It was in this picturesque yet complex backdrop that Lydia spent her childhood. On October 26, 1997, 14-year-old Lydia spent the day with her 12-year-old brother, Justin, at their grandmother's home in Lexington, not far from where they lived on Rugby Road. The siblings shared a close bond. Reflecting on their relationship, Justin once told LEX18, "My best friend, you always look for somebody to go to. You see people with brothers and sisters, that relationship, even on TV, and it's something that you always feel you missed out on." That day, Lydia and Justin left their grandmother's house earlier than expected to visit some friends. They first went to Lydia's boyfriend's house. Justin later left on his own to meet another friend. According to the Charlie Project, Lydia returned home at some point because she called her cousin from the landline. The specific details of that phone call are not publicly known, making it unclear if Lydia mentioned any plans, whom she might have been meeting, or if she had any concerns. Lydia was never seen or heard from again after that phone call. That night, Justin became anxious when he realized his sister had not returned home from her boyfriend's house in the Cardinal Valley neighborhood. Reports state that the last known sighting of Lydia was at the corner of Piccadilly Street and Rugby Road. There are also accounts of her being seen walking down Londonderry Road between 3 o'clock and 5 p.m. Close to her home. Several hours later, the Perkins family reported her missing. Lydia's mother later recalled that when Justin came home that evening, he was freaking out. However, upon reflection, Justin claims he does not remember that moment clearly. He also could not recall many details about that particular evening. Lydia had a history of leaving home without permission, so at first, it was assumed she was out with friends. But as the night wore on, concern grew. She had never strayed far or stayed out this long before. For 2 years, police classified Lydia as a runaway, assuming she had left voluntarily. Because of this, her case did not receive significant media coverage. No newspapers or television stations publicized her disappearance, leaving word of mouth as the only way to spread awareness. This lack of exposure contributed to the stagnation of the investigation, with few tips or leads being reported to authorities. Family members conducted searches of the area, but no trace of Lydia was found. A chilling development emerged years later. A death row inmate allegedly confessed to killing Lydia. However, authorities could not corroborate his claim due to a lack of evidence. No physical clues have ever surfaced to indicate what happened to Lydia on the night she vanished. No arrests have been made in connection with her disappearance. Conflicting information regarding Lydia's last known movements has hindered the investigation. Sources differ on key details, such as the date of her disappearance. Justin claims Lydia did not vanish on October 26, 1997, but rather on October 19th. The exact timing of her phone call to her cousin is also unclear. Was it when she initially returned from her grandmother's house or later that evening after visiting her boyfriend? In October 2021, Justin made a shocking claim on Facebook. He had personally traced a man whom Lexington police once suspected of being involved in Lydia's disappearance. After the police department's cold case squad lost its funding, Justin took matters into his own hands. The man was eventually arrested and charged with possessing indecent images of children, receiving a 5-year prison sentence. According to Justin, the suspect's niece later visited his home to collect some belongings and discovered a videotape of Lydia sitting on top of his television. The tape, taken a month before Lydia's disappearance, had allegedly remained in the man's possession for over 20 years. It was revealed that Lydia had known this man's sister, adding another layer of intrigue to the case. However, the suspect's sister later stopped cooperating with Justin, reportedly due to a decline in her mental health. With no further leads, the case once again stalled. Police have never publicly commented on Justin's claims or given them any official credibility. No further progress has been reported. Every holiday season, Lydia's mother, Sher Thompson, lights a candle in memory of her missing daughter. Speaking to LEX18 on the 25th anniversary of Lydia's disappearance, she reflected on decades of heartache. I remember my brother would say she'll be home by Thanksgiving, she'll be home by Christmas. And that was 25 years ago. Despite the years that have passed, Lydia's family remains determined to find answers. It's been a nightmare, Sher said. You live with that thought every single day. My daughter would never have left us. Something happened to her. I think something bad has happened to her. Justin remains equally committed to seeking justice. I will press any issue. I want to find out what happened to my sister. I will never give up. I will never quit trying, no matter how hard it is. One day, I will find the truth. The circumstances surrounding Lydia Perkins' disappearance remain shrouded in mystery. Did she leave home voluntarily that night, only to fall victim to foul play? Was she taken against her will? The lack of evidence makes it difficult to draw conclusions. There is no trail to follow. She simply vanished in a thin air. At the time of her disappearance in 1997, Lydia and Perkins was 14 years old. She was Caucasian, stood 4 feet 11 inches tall, and weighed approximately 90 pounds. She had red auburn, shoulder-length hair and hazel eyes. She may have dyed her hair bright red, brown, or black. Lydia had a brown circular birthmark on the right side of her neck, scars on her right eyebrow and the center of her forehead, and pierced ears. She may have used the surname Mobley. Authorities no longer consider Lydia a runaway. Instead, her case is classified as an endangered missing person. Over the years, forensic artists have created age-progressed images in collaboration with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, with the most recent image released in 2020, depicting Lydia at age 38. If she is alive in 2024, she would be 42 years old. Her DNA is available for comparison. Those with any information regarding Lydia Perkins' disappearance are urged to contact the Lexington Fight Urban County Division of Police at 859-258-3600. The night of July 27, 1987, was supposed to be another routine voyage across the Baltic Sea. The Viking Sally, an 8-story passenger ferry with a capacity for 2,000 people, set sail from Stockholm, Sweden, bound for Turku, Finland. Among those aboard were 3 young West German tourists, Klaus Schelkel, Bettina Taxis, and their friend Thomas Schmidt. The trio had embarked on a Nordic tour, their journey fueled by a spirit of adventure and exploration. But what began as an exciting excursion turned into a horrific and still unsolved tragedy that continues to haunt investigators decades later. Klaus and Bettina, a young couple deeply in love, had been traveling since July 23rd. Along with their companion Thomas, they had made their way north through Denmark and into Sweden, where they enjoyed the sights of Stockholm before deciding to take a detour across the Gulf of Bothnia into Finland. Their last known communications to family members indicated they were having a wonderful time. Upon boarding the Viking Sally, the group took time to explore the ship, making small purchases before settling in for the night. Due to limited funds and a desire to see the sunrise, Klaus and Bettina opted to sleep on the helicopter platform of the top deck. Thomas, who complained of the cold and noise, found a more comfortable spot below deck near a friendly Finnish passenger. Sometime after 1 a.m., the couple, wrapped in their sleeping bags, settled down for the night under the open sky. They were last seen alive by fellow passengers who had spoken with them briefly. At approximately 3:45 a.m., 3 Danish youths made their way to the top deck to take in the vast seascape. Instead, they stumbled upon a scene of unimaginable horror. Near the air vents, they found 2 bodies, both covered in blood, barely clinging to life. One of the Danes, a patrol boy on the ship, quickly ran for help while the others stayed with the victims. The Viking Sally security officer arrived moments later, confirming the severity of the injuries. Klaus and Bettina had suffered devastating blunt force trauma to their heads. Though conscious, they were unable to speak. Crew members swiftly transported the victims to the ship's medical bay, where the onboard nurse performed emergency first aid before alerting authorities. By 5:48 a.m., a rescue helicopter had arrived, evacuating the critically injured couple to a hospital in Turku. Tragically, Klaus succumbed to his injuries upon arrival, while Bettina, though gravely wounded, managed to survive after extensive surgeries and weeks of unconsciousness. The brutal attack left her with permanent damage to her eye and hand, as well as psychological scars that would never fully heal. Finnish authorities wasted no time launching an investigation. Detectives boarded the Viking Sally at 6:30 a.m., meticulously combing the crime scene on the top deck. Despite the ship's security officers' best efforts, much of the evidence had already been compromised due to the high volume of passenger activity. By the time the Viking Sally docked in Turku at 8:10 a.m., police had a daunting task ahead. With approximately 1,400 passengers from 9 different nationalities aboard, narrowing down a suspect seemed nearly impossible. To manage the situation, law enforcement implemented strict disembarkation procedures. Passengers were funneled through a single exit, with police monitoring any suspicious behavior. Boats patrolled the waters around the ship to prevent evidence disposal. 3 cameras were used to record passengers, one for the general crowd, another specifically for young men, and the third for individuals displaying nervous or unusual behavior. All passengers were required to provide identification and basic information, though logistical difficulties soon forced authorities to abandon this approach. Anyone unable to confirm their identity was detained for further questioning. Several persons of interest were detained and interrogated, including Thomas Schmidt, the Danish man who discovered the bodies, and an English passenger named Patrick Haley. Haley had been found covered in blood, but forensic tests confirmed it was his own, evidence of a severe nosebleed following a night of heavy drinking. As the investigation deepened, authorities found themselves facing more questions than answers. The attack did not appear to be sexually or financially motivated. Nothing had been stolen from the victims. Some speculated that jealousy or an alcohol-fueled altercation had led to the violence. Others wondered if a mentally unstable individual had struck out in an unprovoked attack. The murder weapon was never conclusively identified, though early speculation suggested a fire axe. However, later findings refuted this theory, as the injuries were inconsistent with an axe wound. The weapon was likely discarded overboard, forever lost to the sea. One of the few concrete leads came from witness descriptions. Police were searching for a young man, between the ages of 20 and 35, wearing a monochrome green or dark-colored beanie with rolled edges. A German passenger matching this description was questioned, but had an alibi. In August 1987, 2 fishermen discovered a black bag on the shores of Lilla Bonholm Island. Inside were a pair of Finnish-made Umberto Luda shoes with a hidden heel, a red woolen jumper, light shorts with a prime zip, and work gloves bearing the initials H.K. Investigators suspected these items belonged to someone aboard the Viking Sally, but they were never linked to a specific individual. Over the years, 3 different individuals have confessed to the crime, but none of their statements held up under scrutiny. Bettina provided a statement to police in June 1988, but its details remain undisclosed. Some reports claim she was uncooperative, either due to trauma or an unwillingness to revisit the past. Investigators continued their pursuit of the killer, but with no physical evidence, no confirmed weapon, and a long list of potential suspects, the case remained unsolved. Tragically, the Viking Sally itself met a grim fate. Renamed MS Estonia in 1993, the ship sank in the Baltic Sea on September 28, 1994, in one of the deadliest maritime disasters of the 20th century, claiming 852 lives. In July 2019, Finnish authorities announced that they had made significant progress in the case. Though details remain scarce, police hinted that they had a strong lead on a suspect who would now be over 45 years old. Investigators ruled out the fire axe as the murder weapon and suggested that new forensic techniques might help bring the case closer to resolution. If the breakthrough leads to an arrest, justice may finally be served for Klaus Schelkel. Until then, the Viking Sally murder case remains one of Finland's most perplexing unsolved crimes. On the morning of October 21, 1998, 15-year-old Tanya Mullinghaus vanished without a trace while on her way to school in Wuppertal, Germany. A bright, academically gifted student with a passion for dance, she was last heard from when she called her mother to confirm that she would need a ride home later that afternoon. However, she never arrived at school, and by the time evening fell, she was officially reported missing. Tanya was described as responsible and well-behaved, making it highly unlikely that she would have disappeared voluntarily. While she had expressed a desire for more independence, such as wanting to live in an apartment under the supervision of social workers, she had no history of running away or engaging in rebellious behavior. Despite these facts, authorities initially dismissed her case as a runaway situation, much to the frustration of her family. Then, 2 days later, a letter arrived at the Mullinghaus home, purportedly written by Tanya herself. It read, "Dear Mom, dear Dad, don't worry too much. I'm healthy and will be back home in 2 or 3 months. That's why there's no need to look for me. Please just take care of the rabbits and the babysitting. Also, please hold on to the things I ordered. Just make something up to tell school. I need some distance and will get in touch with you next week. Yours, Tanya." While the letter was written in her handwriting, her family immediately found it suspicious. The tone did not match Tanya's usual way of communicating, and she had never expressed any plans to disappear for such a long period. The fact that she insisted they not look for her only raised more alarm. 4 days later, on October 27th, a second letter arrived. Dated October 24th, its contents contradicted the first letter. "Dear Mom, dear Dad, you still don't have to worry. I'm great, and I'll be on my way home next weekend already. That's why you don't have to look for me. I hope you have or will have taken care of the things I mentioned who are important to me in the last letter. Yours, Tanya." The shift in time frame from months to a single week was puzzling. If Tanya had willingly left, what had changed so suddenly? Some theorized that if she had been taken against her will, her captor might have forced her to write the letters, adjusting the timeline to keep suspicion at bay. Even more concerning was the fact that forensic tests later confirmed an unknown person's DNA was found on the letters. Additionally, the stamps used on the letters were traced back to Dusseldorf, about 35 kilometers, about 22 miles away from Wuppertal. If Tanya had written the letters under duress, had she been held captive there? As weeks turned into months, authorities finally began taking the case more seriously. However, by then, crucial time had been lost. No credible sightings of Tanya were ever confirmed, and her bank account remained untouched. Despite media appeals and a reward for information, no significant leads emerged. Her family remained haunted by the question: if she had run away, why had she never reached out again? One theory that has persisted over the years is that Tanya may have been abducted and forced into human trafficking. There have been cases of young girls disappearing under similar circumstances, only for their names to later surface in connection with organized crime rings. Some even draw parallels to the case of Frock Leaps, a German student who vanished in 2006, also maintaining brief contact with her family before disappearing permanently. However, there has never been any solid evidence linking Tanya's case to such a fate. The Mullinghaus family suffered deeply in the aftermath of her disappearance. The strain took a toll on her parents' marriage, eventually leading to their divorce. Tanya's mother, Elizabeth, has remained vocal about her belief that Tanya chose to leave on her own, but may have been unable to return. In an emotional open letter posted years later, she wrote, "Again and again, I wonder how it could come about. The answer, however, only you can give me. This is my only and dearest wish, to hear from you, to know everything that you have undergone. What moved you to go away? What do you reproach me for? And if you could forgive me, I am no longer married to Dad. If you only want to find the way to me, there is nothing in the way. One thing I would like to tell you, you need to be ashamed of nothing and to be afraid of nothing. If someone has to be ashamed, it is me, because I did not realize how you felt." Her heartfelt plea, however, has never been answered. Almost 27 years have passed since Tanya's disappearance, and the case remains unsolved. Many questions still linger. Did she leave of her own free will, only to meet an unforeseen fate? Was she coerced into writing those letters? Or did she truly plan to return home but never got the chance? With no new leads and no confirmed sightings, Tanya Mullinghaus remains one of Germany's most perplexing missing person cases. Yet for those who love her, hope still remains that one day she will be found and the truth will finally come to light.